Perfect. Well, Joe, do you want to start us off?
Sure. I've been kind of going about catching up on more writing this past week. Played around with the GeoSci labs, getting those Jupyter, like a Jupyter hub going for them, using the repo to Docker, which worked out really well. Like I'd never used it before, and I've never used Docker before, and it was very easy to get going on that, to get a Docker environment set up that's just ready to run it. It was very, very simple. So that was very helpful. The next part is getting it all set up for Jupyter Hub for the EOAS 350 course. Yeah. Like, other than that, just been working on writing ups, dusting off some of the papers from the thesis and polishing them up a little bit.
Nice.
We had a nice, I thought we had a nice productive evening on Friday. For those who weren't there, we had a nice little happy hour we went through, and I thought we actually got a decent amount of stuff done, and like it was a nice environment to just chat about things, and so I'm definitely for doing that again in the future. Just kind of very able to clean up a bunch of old branches that are kind of dead, kind of talked through some of the bigger pull requests and issues that we've had in the past, like starting from the very old stuff. We probably should have taken a little bit more meetings, but we have a few links to some things about, we've got a document discussing the big picture now. That's in the SimPEG documentation, just kind of fleshing that out a little bit wider. Lindsay, you have that document, right?
I dropped a link into the pull request.
Okay, yeah, that's right. So check it out there. I'm all for doing that thing. Maybe we can see if we can do a short 30-minute one after a meeting next week, maybe, if people are open for that.
Sure.
I know we said we'd kind of alternate them back like every other week or so. We had talked about doing that, so people are free for 30 minutes afterwards. Next meeting, we have another discussion on things.
That sounds good. Cool. Thanks, Joe. I see John next on my screen.
Yeah, still playing with mumps there. I've pretty much got it all the way done and implemented in a sense. I've just made like just a what do you call it, like a function, a method as part of the simulation right now in the DC to try it out. Yeah, and I was just using the test model, the one that you guys use in your tests, and everything was working. And then I threw a data set at it, and it's just sitting and spinning in the solve now. I don't know what I did different. Like, it's all set up the same. I've even calculated the fields for a bunch of other projects, and it seemed to work. And then this data set is just kind of throwing me into the weeds again. So just kind of picking away at that, and it's pretty much ready. I just need to confirm that it's going to work every time, kind of thing. And then, yeah, maybe sit down and start talking about how to maybe add it to the solver utils. I think that's practically with crafting everything. Yeah, I just have to sit down and go into it. I've been looking through it a little bit to see how I can put it in there so that we don't really have to change much. Because yeah, having it as just added to the simulation class isn't really efficient. It's because you'll have to add it to every other simulation class or just put it up on the high one. So yeah, I'll try to get it integrated into the solver utils next. And
John, are you still just using that mumps or PyMumps as an interface?
Sorry, you're a little bit broken up there.
Did you get the PyMumps interface working? Is that what you're using?
Yeah, I'm using, well, just like a hybrid of that. I kind of just took what we needed out of it because, like you said, there was a lot of stuff in there that wasn't really necessary. Sorry.
So that one still only has the floating point or the double floating point operations. There's no complex numbers in there yet.
Yeah, so I built both of them. That's why I said we got like a little bit of a hybrid of PyMumps, because I've also incorporated the complex as well. Right now, I'm just testing the DC. Yeah, and that's where I kind of came into the problem. I didn't test this far yet on the Z-mumps, I guess they call it, for the complex stuff for frequency domain. But no, they're both built. I'm just trying to hook them in to make sure that they work. Yeah, just at that point now. Yeah, no, it handles the multiple right-hand sides really well. That was actually another thing. So they can you can exploit if the right-hand side is sparse. Is that going to be the case at all, or is it always going to be a dense matrix?
It's usually sparse in our applications unless you're doing a secondary field approach.
Oh, okay. So we should be able to get some speed ups again. Right now, I just have it as a dense matrix, but if we can, do it as a sparse, they say that it helps again. But yeah, when I get there, anyways, I'll let you know. And hopefully, Lindsay, I'll have something for you to test here soon. I did lose the big computer here for a bit. We had an emergency inversion that had to be done. But after that's done, hopefully we can get on and we can test the frequency domain one on that CSEM problem.
That would be really exciting.
Oh, sorry.
I know I talked to you about it, but I was also looking into the Cholmod solver.
Yeah, I was hoping to get to that today, just to start looking into the other solvers, but then this happened, and I want to get through it first before I start looking at the other one. But I will definitely do that, Joe.
It's fortunately like the Cholmod solvers, I don't think they take advantage of MPI processes, but I think it's a little bit better OpenMP and like thread parallelism.
Okay.
Because Mumps does really well at does really well at MPI different processes, but not so great at thread parallel processes, or not as good.
Okay. I think I saw that Cholmod in the PET-C package as well. So yeah, maybe there is a way that we can just get it easily built.
Because it can do essentially all of our applications, at least I understand, they're all symmetric matrices. I'm not quite sure where it's an unsymmetric matrix anywhere. So
not that I'm aware of.
The Cholmod will do an LDL decomposition for symmetric matrices. So.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Maybe I'll take that today.
Doesn't necessarily do a Cholesky decomposition if it's just symmetric and not symmetric positive definite. So we should be able to take advantage of that solver as well.
Nice. Okay, yeah. Let me take a look at that today. I'll not put that off again. Other than that, that's all I've been kind of working on so far.
Awesome. Cool. I'm really excited that this is working, John. I think that's going to be a big step. So cool. Thibaut, would you like to go next?
I finally have a date for the defense. It was a long run to get everybody's, but that's going to be on September the 17th. It's like a Thursday morning.
Excellent.
And so because it got a bit delayed compared to what we want, I was thinking maybe instead of doing the practice like almost a month early, because I was asking for if we can do it next week, maybe the week after, maybe the 26th or even the 2nd of September might be better, just to have it closer to the actual defense.
Sure.
Other than that, I've been going back to try to merge my branch with simulation. I've got some things running, not all. I've noticed a couple of differences, maybe in some forward modeling in the DC 2D. So when I've investigated that more, maybe I will ping you, Sogi, and send you like a script to try to ping pong where are the difference. It's a bit of it's a bit long to do. Like my branch, like I was keeping it up to date with SimPEG so far, which was good, but there was a lot of change in my branch, and there was also a lot of branch in simulation. So, and because the merging is not one-on-one because of the name change of the file, etc. And the convention, there is a lot of conflicts, and sometimes I just have to do things by hand. So it's gonna be a bit of like a long run, tedious task to get everything running. But I think that's kind of my main goal now at the moment. It's gonna be to have it run. I have all of my example running again with simulation. So it's a bit of a lot of rewrite, but like that will be also a good test to see if I can get maybe not the exact same thing, but something that's close enough to say that it's working and that it's just like feed those parameters in the background that are slightly changing things. But yeah, at least I have good archive of all the examples. So that will be the benchmark is there to compare.
Excellent.
Yeah, Thibault, let me know if you need any help and suggestions. I could take a look.
Yeah. No, I just want to investigate that more, and when I will block, like I want to be able to send you like scripts and branch where you can run things and compare, so we can have like a better idea of what's happening.
Yeah, I'm willing to help with that too if you need some more help. I've merged a lot of things into simulation.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was gonna ask you a couple of things. Like it's also I didn't look at the simulation class much before, so it's also for me like a more in-depth discovery of all the change of like, oh, how do I write that specific for problem now, etc. Yeah. But it's fairly clear.
Okay, good. That's exciting, Thibault. Cool. Dom, do you have any updates?
No, I don't have anything new. One thing that I would like to ask is we need to submit our list of presenters and themes for SCG by Friday, I think. So if anyone else wants to, like, I don't know if John, you wanted to do a part of it, because right now I'm giving 2 of the 3 sections. And it would probably be nice if someone else would present something else. I don't know if you would like to show your BC apps. So I don't know if you want to, if you guys are ready to make this public, or
how long is it supposed to be? Sorry, or like
so basically it's we segmented it in an hour, but 45 minutes presentation and 50 minutes stuff, but you can do whatever you want, really. Basically you have a block of an hour of it if you're interested.
Okay. If you need some help or need someone to step in, I could probably whip something up.
If you'd like, yeah. It's just I guess an opportunity for you guys to show what you have, right?
Yeah, that'd be probably the thing I can spend most time on, kind of thing, and easier to present. Yeah, sure. Could probably do that.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah, let me get back to you. I'll just talk to Glenn there and just I'll get back to you this afternoon.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Glenn was already on the because he's part of the
he was
mining thing, right?
Yeah, he was telling me that everybody was things were starting to roll again because everything was going online. So I'm sure it'll be all good.
Yeah, guys, talk and let me know before Friday so I can slide your name in.
Right on, for sure.
Perfect.
A document running with like a tentative schedule for that?
Well, we only have that Excel spreadsheet, but I can convert it to a Google Sheet. Yeah, I'll forward it now. I'll do it.
That would be great. Thanks, John. Cool. Okay, Sagi.
I have nothing really particular. I started taking a look at Lindsay's example, it seems actually pretty hard to make a good match with the analytics. There are quite a few things going on, so it seems like a good opportunity to. I don't know, like it makes kind of the hardship is you can generate the octree mesh, but you need to do quite a few things to make sure that you got good accuracy. So it's not just a discretization problem, but it's also interconnected with the physics. So you need to make sure, like, okay, where are you going to discretize more to make sure that you've got good accuracy? and interestingly enough, Lindsay's problem, it's controlled marine EM. It's very hard to get good accuracy at the far offset. And so you probably need to find where you need to discretize more to make sure you get good accuracy at the far offset. And usually we have a worse accuracy at the near offset, but the near offset accuracy is pretty good, even if you use pretty poor mesh, which I was a bit surprised. Anyway, so I'm having a little bit of fun with that. Other than that, yeah, we started working on the LP norm paper. So I've started to parsing out the Dumb's LP inversion notebooks and sort of diving into actually understand what is exactly going on under the hood. Yeah, so it's a kind of fun project. I think that's it. And Dev, I'm planning to revisit that simulation refactor for 1D code.
Okay.
So I'll update you pretty soon.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I can sort of continue on that. One of the things I've been doing, Soggy, is going through all of the tests, and I've been updating the tests to be running with simulation. So I was able to get started on it, but I haven't been able to continue on for the past little bit because I've been working on other things. But that's sort of where I'm putting most of my time. So, I mean, the tests have to get done eventually, and it's a good way to check everything. So
yeah,
that would be a place that you could jump in.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Devin, do you have other things you want to share?
No, not really. I've just been finishing off some other stuff with DC Octree, but I guess I'm seeing some things that can ultimately be added to SimPEG when we're done this. We've been playing around with this sort of sensitivity weighting for the DC Octree problem, and I've been playing around with like a really basic interpolation. Right now, it seems like we don't have kind of a satisfactory way of just going from any mesh to any other mesh. And
Joe George just posted it's already on discretize.
Yeah,
it's a mesh to mesh. It works with all meshes.
Or just a
Sweet.
volume average function. I mean, like there's just a volume averaging interpolation. But if you're discussing other methods of interpolation,
it's nothing too fancy. One thing that I noticed, and it came up when I was doing the inverting a set of 2D DCIP lines. And so then I end up getting a bunch of slices, 2D models. And then we're going to go and interpolate that onto a 3D mesh of some kind. And so we really only have kind of an understanding of generally what the model does immediately within the data points. So what I mean by that is if you took a convex hull of all of the survey points and made that space, that's the lateral extent of kind of what you have. And so when I'm moving to 3D, I'd like to use that as a reference model. And I found that I kind of ran into an interesting problem. And one of those was, you know, I'm going to have to extrapolate in some fashion to put something in the padding. And if I do something like a nearest neighbor, if there's some conductor or some anomalous body that's sitting near the edge of it, it's going to create this giant like conductor or structure that's going to impact my data. Or if I just truncate it and say, okay, I'm just going to set a background value in the padding, then I noticed that you get a really big penalty sometimes on the regularization. And so this kind of choice on how you want to put something in the padding is really impacting my final inversion result. So I'm kind of playing around with some stuff to try and maybe balance it or sort of decay it to a background value so that I'm, yeah, not running into those problems. So I don't know if any of you have thought about this issue, but yeah, going from 2D inversion results to 3D and wanting to create a reference model is not, I guess, as trivial as I thought.
Have you, do you know about the natural neighbor?
No.
So it's kind of like it's almost like a blended nearest neighbor thing. It's another method of kind of interpolation that kind of, you can imagine, like it looks at like so many nearest neighbors and then it blends them together as it's extrapolating. Like it's a little bit more complicated than that, but it's kind of like the idea of what's happening is that it's blending the idea of different neighbors, but it's like a natural neighbor. It's a little bit smoother interpolation scheme.
Yeah.
I played around.
I guess I'm worried about how much more memory is required to do that as opposed to just doing a nearest neighbor.
Everything's going to be more expensive than nearest neighbor. I mean, nearest neighbor is the cheapest thing you can do, right?
Yeah, because I'm working with meshes that are pretty large.
If it's done correctly, it's actually a pretty efficient operation as well. I mean, the most expensive point is looking up nearest neighbors. Like that's like the most expensive part of the operation. So.
Yeah, but you can do with the nearest neighbors, you can still do like an inverse distance, which is, as Joe said, pretty cheap. Yeah, the cost is just in finding your neighbors. But if you do anything like a spline or a minimum curvature or linear interp,
too much.
It's super expensive.
But these are just on. So these are on the octree grids.
I mean, I'm working within the MATLAB framework right now, so I don't have access to all of the Python tools.
No, because if it's just like if you're working with tensors, then like the higher order, like tensor meshes, the higher order interpolation operations are actually pretty cheap.
Yeah, it's mostly ultimately I want to end up with my reference model on an octree mesh.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really awesome. You have a standard any mesh to any mesh within SimPEG, because I just run into this all the time.
But as far as taking a 2D information and trying to extrapolate and interpolate that onto a 3D mesh, that's something I feel like it's more like that interpolation problem, extrapolation.
It's a scatter interpolation basically. Right? Because
yeah,
your line is not necessarily straight. Your line could be like this. So it's a 3D scatter through a 3D grid.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's not an interpolation problem. It's an extrapolation problem, right? I'm trying to come up with something sensible that's in the padding, not something sensible that's within my survey area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You probably want to end up in a median value, right? When you're far away from your grid.
Yeah. Grid. So I don't know. I'm playing around with something right now where I mean, I just kind of said what the two problems were, right? One is you might accidentally nearest neighbor everything and just put some giant structure because there's a single cell there hanging out in the corner that's got a big value.
Yeah, I would try to do an inverse distance with a threshold, and then your threshold is just your background.
That's sort of what I'm playing with right now. It's going to start with the nearest neighbor, and then as you go further away, it's going to decay with some level of smoothness to a background value.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, then your regularization can become a problem.
MATLAB could call Python though, right? You don't need to stick to the MATLAB calls.
Yeah, I'm looking for simple solutions. I want to get this done, but
I didn't with the octree.
In what sense?
The UBC, the average, the approximated sensitivities, stuff.
It's going fairly well. So the manual has been updated, and
no, but I mean in terms of results.
Yeah, we successfully implemented it in the manual. At least for that problem, when there's anomalous bodies that aren't hanging out at the surface, it seems to work pretty well. I haven't really gotten anything satisfactory for Mount Isa as of yet. So I'm finding that with Mount Isa, putting some measure of near surface, like horizontal interface weights to try and get it to be a little bit smoother near the surface, that's giving me results that I'm much happier with, and it's converging to target misfit in a way that's a lot more satisfactory. Even putting very minimal, like using a very high truncation value so that I'm only putting the weights immediately next to the receivers, I'm still pushing stuff out, and now it's sort of clustering at the surface, but in between the survey lines, as opposed to clustering along the survey lines. So I haven't found a good way to just get that balance. So I think it works. Like I would say when I look at the sensitivities and I look at the shape of my sensitivity weights model, it passes the eye test, but I haven't been able to go and find kind of a consistent workflow that would make me say, oh, it's putting everything in the right place most of the time or all of the time. So
can the UBC code output the real sensitivities now? Because you're saying you're comparing the weights and
yeah, it you would see, basically we separate it into two executables. One executable's got a set of iterative methods to go and approximate the sensitivities, and it will output the true sensitivities, and that's the time-consuming part. And then there's a second executable which will take those and will turn it into a weights model. So it will pick a truncation factor, it will normalize it, and that is really quickly. It will also, you can apply a smoothing to it. And so,
no, but is it a real sensitivities or the approximated sensitivities?
Oh, it's approximated. It's Hutchinson's method or probing method. It's not the true sensitivities.
So when you say it passes the eye test, I mean, you're not really seeing the real sensitivities. You're just looking at the approximated sensitivities against your weights. That you're saying?
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at the sensitivities that I got out and the sensitivity and the DC weights, and kind of seeing, is it decaying at the same rate vertically and horizontally? Do I end up with a kind of smoother approximation or representation of my approximate sensitivities? But yeah, right now I'm still, anyone who wants to play with it is welcome to play with it, because it's not as robust right off the bat as we were hoping.
Okay, thanks, Devin.
Yep.
Doug, do you have any updates?
I've got a question. I wasn't really sure where we are. It has to do with the license for the data for GWB. So I'd like to get back to them and let Pallavi know that they can have the data sets, but I wasn't quite sure exactly where we were with how to describe the license, or just where to allow her access to everything.
Yeah, so we should do this through the website. Maybe you, me, and Devin can just hang on briefly after the call and we can sort that out. Would that be all right?
Yep, that's fine. And then I guess the other big thing is we finally have this American gringo coming out of quarantine here. So we're gonna have a pizza party. So everybody's invited, and so we'll just have the limit that we're allowed for our phase 2.5 here in British Columbia for number of people at a pizza party. And we can probably keep everybody socially distanced, and I'm hoping people would be going to kind of bring something a little bit novel for whatever they want on a pizza, on their pizza crust. Marion's making some dough, so we've got a pizza we got a pizza stone and a paddle, and we can put whatever we want on. We got a good oven, so it cooks it in about 5 minutes. So everybody can bring whatever you might like to have. We'll have some basic stuff, and yeah, meet at our place at 6 o'clock. So Soggy, Lindsay, it might be a little bit of a hoof for you, but you can see what you can do.
Sounds good.
We have to wait at least 14 days for soggy though.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Okay, Soggy, you're out.
Thanks, Dad.
We'll send you a piece by mail, Sog.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, maybe you guys can have an extra piece for Soggy and myself. Can let us know how it tastes. Do you have any other updates, Doug, or that's?
Nope, that was basically it.
Excellent. So I have a couple updates. I guess one thing I've been doing is there's the UBC Jupiter Days is happening right now. Today's like very basic sort of intro stuff, and then the next 2 days are going to be a bit more in depth. I'll be presenting on Friday on widgets and things like that. So I'll give a demo on widgets and dashboards. But there's some interesting talks. So I'm excited to see some of the stuff where folks are talking about pedagogy and things like that. So I'll report back if there's anything that stands out. The other thing I've gotten, so after Transform, I got an email from some folks at the Geologic Survey of Brazil. And they're really interested in having, well, they first suggested a course. And I said, well, right now, I mean, that's a lot to put together. And also, you know, we're not traveling. And so that makes it pretty tricky if you want to do something that's a bit longer. But also the time thing is what I'm most concerned about. So what I suggested is that why don't they actually have folks like watch the Transform tutorial, and then we'll just show up and do a Q&A for an hour and have it be a fairly informal but sort of first just approach to sort of get people engaged in the community, maybe meet some friendly faces, and just have a chance to chat. And hopefully they could submit some questions beforehand, but I figured that seemed like a pretty, not too much overhead on us, but a good chance to meet with some people who were keen to get up and running with SimPEG. So they suggested in like February, March, like they're thinking next year. So I don't know if folks have constraints or things like that. If not, we can just kind of like, I think we can basically just suggest a date and then, you know, do a 1, maybe 2 hour Q&A session and maybe a couple of demos or things like that of stuff that's going on. So.
Lindsay, was this with the university or with a couple of universities, or who was this with?
It's the Geologic Survey of Brazil.
Yeah. Where are they out of?
They are, I don't actually know. I can send, it's the Center for Technological Development.
And so would they be, are they geophysicists, or are they?
I'll send an email and get a sense of the audience. I think, well, I'm pretty sure that Marco, who reached out to me, I believe he's a geophysicist. So I think some folks probably are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who was it that reached out? Marco Braga?
Marco, here, let me send you his name.
Yeah, so Joe, Yago had quite a bit of interaction with groups in Brazil.
Yeah, that's
Do you
why
know if he was connected with Geological Survey, or?
I'm not quite sure. I don't think so. Like that name doesn't ring a bell to me.
Okay.
Yeah, but we could also reach out to Alini and see if there's sort of other connections, because it would be nice actually to get, because I think she's involved with the Geophysical Society there. So if we could get folks from both.
I'm sure. I think she was. I'm sure she'll have some contacts, but she's in Ireland now.
Oh, okay, right.
Working with she's just there now. Yeah, she's in Ireland. But I'm sure she has people left behind that she knows, so we can contact her.
Yeah, well, that would be good.
Well, this is the benefit of, something virtual, right? I mean, you can get a whole bunch of different people from different areas. So yeah, if they could organize something, in Brazil with their various, universities or geological groups, that'd be great.
Yeah. So maybe what I'll do is I'll draft just like a quick sort of email response of what we kind of have in mind. So I think like they sound like they're good with the sort of watch the tutorial and then Q&A session, but we can also put in there a request that they reach out to other groups and universities, and we have a few contacts from the DISC and things like that. So that would be good. Other than that, don't have too much to update on. Yeah, does anyone else have things you'd like to chat about, bring up with the group? Pizza topping requests?
Is sort of the time that we should get busy and finalize it. Is that like months away or is it weeks away?
Sorry, you cut, well, I think I cut out.
Yeah, so we submitted the AGU abstracts for our final GWB project, and I guess I'm wondering, is that months away or weeks away? So
the SEG is...
Well, the SEG is coming up, but for in terms of AGU, we can start kind of later.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we'll be able to reuse a lot of the stuff from SEG, but actually that's a really good point. SEG, like we need to have recordings by September 1st, which is actually soon.
Yeah, so I'm going to the Yukon in a couple of weeks. I just want to make sure I don't miss any deadlines.
Yeah, so that's a deadline.
For things I'm involved in. Okay.
That's the deadline.
When are you leaving, Deb?
August 22nd, and I return September the 6th.
Okay, so we should get tracking on that.
Sounds like next week could be busy.
Yeah.
And actually, on that note with SEG, there was an email sent out to authors that I wanted to flag so that everyone knows you have to take action by the 17th. And either give them, so there's a couple different options for the licensing agreement for your recording. Is you can give them rights to use it for a month, or you use it indefinitely, or not at all, but that also means that you don't talk. So authors have to respond by the 17th, which is, it's just clicking a button, but it's just wanted to flag so that you don't miss the email.
So Sagi, I'm wondering how that would work for the SEG, because you actually submitted it. You were the person that was officially acknowledged, or got the initial email about acceptance. Yeah, Lindsay, did you get anything on that, Sagi?
Yeah, yes, they asked me to send about that license email. Is that what you're asking there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I could do that. I can handle that.
So just coordinate on what you actually want for a license. I'm actually sort of thinking that I just want the month. I don't know how I feel about SEG. Or like, I don't know what their plans are for keeping these recordings. I don't really know. So.
Right. Yeah, so once the decision is made, I could submission. I could.
Can you send me that email that they sent you?
Yes, I could.
Cool. Okay, so then on that note for the SEG, for the GWB presentations, if folks who are lead on each one want to start sketching out what your presentation looks like, and Devin, maybe if you wouldn't mind just pinging Ren, just to make sure that this is on her radar too. Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we can sort of coordinate and like send around links and help each other out. But I think if the lead author can take lead on the presentation. Cool. Okay, any other items? Oh, okay, we'll have fun at your pizza party tonight.
Oh, okay. We'll do that. Maybe John, maybe you'll bring one of your home brews.
I unfortunately don't have any.
What, you mean you gave it all to Joe?
I gave my last 2 to Joe, to be honest. Yes.
And Joe, do you have any left?
Got one left.
I know. I fell behind over this whole pandemic. I'll have to get back up to speed.
Oh, you said you were going to be bottling. I was talking to you last week.
I'm going to be bottling this weekend. Yeah. So it'll be a little bit yet before the next batch, unfortunately.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so Dev and Linz will stay on for a bit after.
Sure.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, Lynn. Bye, guys. See you
Bye.
tonight.